Hello everyone. Namaste. How are you all today? I'm sure your cat preparation is going on full fervor. I'm Shruti Tiwari, a VARC expert at Top Rankers, Supergrad's Cat. Today I'm here to talk about how to read Aeon essays. But before we get started, let us first get the answer why to read Aeon essays at the first place. For the obvious reason that it has been the authentic source of cat RC passages for several years. But that's not the only reason. The more prominent reason is that this is a fantastic website which brings together most prominent and globally recognized scientists, thinkers, clinical psychologists, historians, authors from across globe under one roof. So it's a must read. So let's get started. What I've done is I've selected one such interesting essay for you from the field of psychology. When you go to the website, you get a menu which has drop down list which has fields of study, that is genre. You can select from philosophy, psychology, science, history, culture, society, whichever is your choice or taste, you can select essays from that and the subtitle. Feeling in situ. What if emotions are not universal and hardwired, but exquisite acts of meaning making specific to context and culture? Reading topic, that is the title of the topic, and the subtitle helps you understand the topic better. So we now understand that the essay which we are going to read is about feeling in situation or in context. And the subtitle makes it even clearer that it is about emotions which are not universal or hardwired, but it is according to the context of nature and culture. All right, so let's get started with the reading part. But before we start with the reading, I want you to focus on these two figures. The entire essay is of 4,300 words and it is read in 34, almost 34 minutes. So it's about 120, 125 words per minute. I don't want you to get trapped into speed reading. Please avoid rushing through the passages, especially when you're preparing for CAT, so that you comprehend properly and answer the questions with accuracy. And this is what I'm here to illustrate that you can read the entire passage in 34 minutes, but if you want to stick to CAT pattern and read only 4 to 5 or maybe 6 paragraphs at one stretch, believe me, you won't take more than 3 to 4 minutes. While we are reading, one word of caution: do not get stuck when you do not understand a single word. We will read the paragraph and then we will identify the main point of that particular paragraph. The first time I saw Pixar's movie Inside Out, I was too entranced by its craftsmanship to realize that there was something odd, almost airy, about its human characters. I was charmed by little Riley, the protagonist, with the chattering critters prancing around her head. There's Joy, a feisty version of Tinker Bell with cropped blue hair and indomitable optimism. Anger, a flaming red stump with eyes like slit and fire bursting from his head. Sadness, a bespectacled blob. Fear, lanky and purple, with a bow tie and bushy eyebrows. And finally, disgust, green and chic, her long lashes fanning out of her face like miniature broomsticks. Now, what's the point the author is making here? And describing emotions. Basically, it's a personification which is done. Let's move on. From a control room in Riley's mind, her personified emotions operate a switchboard with buttons and levers that cause the girl to smile, sulk, or cry, or jolt her body into action. Now it hugs, now it slumps, storms, slams doors. It's a kind of movie you'd expect Pixar to make. First rate drama laced with dry humor and adorable characters. But with every prop made to tug your heartstrings, you're bound to miss something. That behind her big, lovely eyes, little Riley is an automaton, a puppet pushed around by her emotions. Now, what's the main point here in this paragraph? It is talking about her personified emotions. These emotions are controlling her actions, and that is where he says that she is like a puppet. She is pushed around by her emotions. So, this is basically what the paragraph is all about. While it mere make believe, I wouldn't quibble with the movie, but its fantastical veneer aside, Inside Out promotes a view that's dominated psychology for more than 50 years. The idea that certain emotions are universal, innate, and hardwired into our brain. Everyone, everywhere, apparently knows joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. We all think we can recognize these emotions in the faces of loved ones and strangers, friends and foes. The basic emotion theory, as it is known, is not only taught at universities, it has trickled down into pop psychology books and radio shows and cocktail parties pervading public consciousness as a controvertible fact. For a long time, few questioned it, and those who did were mocked at research gatherings or rejected by science journals. Now, what's the point the author is making here? He is talking about the movie and says that the movie is not that important, but why it has attracted his attention? It is because it has attracted this idea that certain emotions are universal, innate, and hardwired into our brains. And he calls it the basic emotion theory, got into the public consciousness as an undeniable fact. All right, so let's move to the next paragraph. The basic emotion theory, also called the universality thesis by some of its critics, goes back to the 1960s, where the US psychologist Paul Ekman, who consulted on Inside Out, conducted studies with the Four, an indigenous society at Papua New Guinea. Ekman showed that the four could match photographs of faces with the emotional expressions they depicted: happy, sad, angry, disgusted, afraid, or surprised, with a fairly high degree of correctness. Because his subjects had little exposure to Western culture, Ekman claimed he had found conclusive evidence for the existence of six basic, evolved, universally shared emotions. Each emotion, furthermore, came with a distinct brain bound affect program. Triggered by an external stimulus, this underlying neural mechanism would set off a cascade of pre built responses, including, including physiological changes, facial expressions, behavior tendencies, and the subjective state we commonly call feelings. Now, what's the point he's making here? This is again about basic emotion theory. And here he is giving you an evidence from the psychologist Paul Ekman. And what he is trying to prove is that these six basic emotions are universally shared emotions. And this he is proving from a psychologist's point of view. So this paragraph is kind of evidence for the basic emotion theory. The universality thesis appeals to our intuition that somewhere deep down we are all the same. Culture adds color, but in small, unguarded moments, our shared humanity leaks out. Sadness wells up in the eyes, joy crinkles the lip. Over the past 2 decades, however, this view has come under attack from a small but growing group of iconoclast researchers. They argue that emotions are not hardwired responses that lurk in our brains or guts, for that matter, waiting to be switched on by threats or opportunities. Instead, these researchers see emotions as emergent, highly situated ways of organizing experience, exquisite act of meaning making, shaped by the complex interplay of nature and nurture. In this provocative new telling, let's call it the diversity thesis. What we feel, how we feel, perhaps even whether we feel it at all, depends not just on biology but also on the context, including the language we use and the culture we come from. So here we clearly see that there is a twist from the universality theory to basically the diversity thesis. A small but growing group of iconoclast researchers. Iconoclast researchers basically people who do not agree with a larger viewpoint or who are skeptical about the idea, any idea. So here we clearly see that he is now moving to his own point of view, and this becomes the main idea. So the central idea or the summary of that passage comes out as emotions are not hardwired and universal, but depend on context and situation also. So it's easy. It won't take much of your time, and neither will I take much of your time. So these are the main points which I want to bring home today. First, do not get stuck while reading Aeon essays. Do not skim or scan. Avoid speed reading. Read in your own comfortable speed. Ask yourself and keep asking yourself with every paragraph, what's the point the author is making? Summarize towards the end. While reading your essays, or for that matter, any resource for CAT preparation, you should always summarize towards the end what you have read. You should look for word phrases, meaning after you have done with the summarizing part. Don't take it as a burden. You can do it on your go. Whenever you feel you can read, you can take out 5 to 10 minutes, you can actually read an Eon essay. It's not that big a task. Read 5 to 6 paragraphs in one go. So that is all for today. I'm Shruti Tiwari signing out for today. Ciao.